Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And before we get into today's topic, which will be taking a step back, how to know when you need a break, I do want to invite you to come say hi to me over on Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. If you look in the show notes, you'll be able to see how to spell that. I know it's a difficult name, but I'd love for you to go ahead and come over and send me a DM and let me know what you think of this episode or any past episodes that you have listened to. I love getting to know everyone. And even if you have like some feedback or suggestions on what I should talk about next, I would love to hear it. Also, if you are interested in having a real conversation with me on Clubhouse, I am at Sabrina J. Perozzo over there, and I would love to hear from you. But again, so today we are talking about taking a step back, how to know when you need a break. So I decided to take a break with pumping out episodes for this show because my life was kind of spiraling out of control. And, I don't share the intimate details of this on my Instagram. I would like to. I want to more because I definitely want to represent that real mom, that real working wife mom. And, I don't have like a horde of children or anything like that. I have one child who is a new teenager, but I still feel like it's definitely someone out there I can represent and let you know that it's okay when your life feels upside down, when you feel like things are overwhelming. And so I'm gonna work really hard to share more of that. I'm not afraid to share it. I just think that it's either like boring or no one cares or whatever. And I'm not trying to just like be over dramatic, on my socials. But I think it's helpful to let other people know, hey man, my kitchen has been a mess for like 7 days and it is what it is, right? And that's okay. And that's just how life is. So I'm going to try to share more of that on my social media. I share it here on the show often because it's super important for people to know that. But I'm going to work on sharing more of that online. But I was feeling super overwhelmed with my day job, with my responsibilities at home in regards to my daughter and my husband, and following my passions, like this podcast and posting encouragements on my Instagram pages, which is primarily what I do right now. And I want to kind of like make that even more so I can share my life with you guys and really have a good, genuine connection. But in regard to the podcast, this show is not something I'm willing to give up. If I had to give up anything, it would definitely be everything else about the show. The show is so important to me. This brings me so much happiness, joy, fulfillment to share helpful knowledge with others that I knew I wasn't just done with it. I just needed to take a step back. And at no point was I like, well, maybe I don't need the show anymore. Or, maybe it's not something that can really fit into my life anymore. Like that never crossed my mind. It was just more of like, I really need a break. And I took that break. I just needed a break, and I decided to take it over vacation. And kind of when I came back from vacation, because we kind of went on vacation in the middle of the week, and I was prepping for us being gone from work so much that I didn't make the time. It's not that I didn't have the time, I didn't make the time to prep for the show because I was just so overwhelmed. So this is why I thought it would be perfect to talk about how to know when you need a break, because we all need a break at some point. And it was in this instance a couple weeks ago where I decided I just needed a break. And I thought it'd be really helpful to share that with you guys because, maybe you're not aware that it's okay to take breaks. And I'm definitely here to tell you that it was hard for me to understand that I needed to take a break, that I needed to have that space to kind of just breathe. I feel like I was a little drowning underwater and I just needed to be like, wow, you don't have to do this to yourself. You just don't. So now I believe, we all know we need a break at some point or another, but we don't take the break because we don't recognize those feelings of needing a break as real or the need for a break as necessary, or we are too proud to take the break because we don't want others to think less of us or even ourselves. We don't even want ourselves to think less of us. Because ego is definitely involved here sometimes, for sure. With me, it definitely was. And I was very open about that. When I shared on Instagram how I was just feeling overwhelmed with everything I was doing and knowing I needed to make changes in the show and how often I had episodes and everything else that I was doing, because the cadence in my life was no longer there. I used to have this rhythm and this cadence in my life of being able to do work and manage my household and do my episodes and do everything that needed to go along with that. And that all just kind of like, I felt like got washed away in like a tornado or a monsoon or something that came into my life, which is totally normal. Change rolls in without us really knowing a lot of times. But, we know that this is what gets us in trouble by not acknowledging that we needed the break. We need that time to take a step back. We don't just accept that we need time away from whatever it is. It can be work, it can be friends, family, hobbies, responsibilities. And these don't necessarily have to be things that we don't like or enjoy. Because I'm sure, that we all have someone in our family or friends that we don't necessarily enjoy all the time, but it doesn't have to be things that you don't enjoy. These can be things we love dearly, but still need some time away for a refresh. That's like how I like to look at it, as like a refresh, like a reboot or restart, and something that will help us to feel better moving forward as opposed to continuing to feel crappy ongoing. You know what I mean? And I don't think we only need to take a step back from things that bother us or things we don't really enjoy but have to do. And I need to make sure that I make that point very clear, because anytime we think about taking a break from something, we think about, oh, this thing that drives me crazy, this thing that makes me feel uncomfortable, this thing that just overwhelms me and I just hate doing, but I have to do, because we're all adults and we all have responsibilities in our lives that we are accountable to. And, that's life and that's fine. That's totally fine. But it's not always like that. It definitely was not like that for me in this instance that I'm talking about, that I'm relating to. It's completely normal to step back from people and activities that are closest to our hearts, because those things can still cause us to feel stressed or overwhelmed. And that's okay. That is actually okay. I just want you to know that it's okay. I hope that you're hearing me, that it's okay. If you get nothing but me telling you that it's actually okay for you to take a break from these things, I'll be happy. Like, if you want to turn it off right now and be like, thank you, Sabrina, you have just given me so much life right here and freedom. Good. Thank you. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. But yeah, it's the biggest point I want to get across, that it is okay to take a break from things that drive you crazy, but also bring you so much joy. Like for me, the show, I needed to take a break from the show. I need to take a break from the show so that I could show up even better when I came back, which is today. And, a lot of people won't even notice that I was gone because of how many episodes I have. And there's definitely going to be people out there that do notice. And you know what? I see you guys. I know you. You guys are amazing. But there's going to be other people, because my show is very evergreen-ish, where you'll be like, wow, there was like a break there. But I love it. I love this show. And I just wanted to come back and be better for you guys and not continue to struggle along and only give my half myself, right? And I feel like that can be applied to so many other things in our lives that we do enjoy, but we need a break from. Like, if you have kids, I understand. You're not necessarily going to be able to be like, oh, I'm just going to take 2.5 weeks off from my kids. You got to refresh myself a bit. No, I get that. I get that because I'm a mom. But even being able to take a night away or a couple of nights away where you go away with your spouse, or if you're a single parent, just go away by yourself or with friends and just kind of refresh your spirit and your soul and your whole body and sleep longer than maybe you have. It's refreshing. Maybe you have family and you begin kind of having like some trouble, some disagreements, some arguments, and you kind of need a break from that. I kind of need to be able to come back and really have those tough conversations. You need to be able to come back and actually really emotionally be able to agree to disagree, right? and not fight and not, just react in the moment with something that you may regret later. And, maybe it's responsibilities. Maybe you need like a little vacation from work. I mean, everyone should be entitled to vacations. I don't care who you are. I don't care like how much money you have. Even if you don't go on vacation, even if you just take your PTO and you sit at home on the couch and read a book or watch Netflix or take naps all day or just walk your dog or do whatever you're going to do, we all need a break from work. And so maybe that's it. Maybe just been like working, and you're like, I just need a break. And yeah, I hope that you take that. I just, it's so important. It's okay. It's okay. I don't even need to talk about the things that we don't enjoy in our life and we want to break from, because we all know that that's okay. But taking a break from things in your life that you thoroughly enjoy, that are the things that make you cry with happiness, that kind of joy, you need a break. I feel like anyone that's been married long enough will understand, not long enough. And long enough, I mean by like a year. If you've been married at least a year, you'll know that you can love your spouse till the end of time, but you will still enjoy like a night or two away, like, hanging out with girlfriends and or guy friends or whomever friends, and just going out and doing your own thing. And like, I feel like that space can make your heart grow fonder, or whatever the phrase is. It's like, I don't know, time away makes the heart grow fonder, or whatever it is. And that is so true. And if you don't think it's true, that's fine. That's your opinion. I'll give that to you, right? We're all entitled to our own opinion, but I want you to know that if you do feel like, oh, wow, I really enjoy the time that I get to just like hang out with my friends or have a little girls trip away or guys trip away or whatever it is, that's okay to enjoy that. It's okay to love that. It's okay to like look forward to those things. Now, if you're looking forward to too much, then you might want to reevaluate like what you're trying to run away from, if that's the case. But I would say generally it's not. It's just that you just feel overwhelmed. You just feel pressured. You feel stressed. You just want to like, have some freedom. And again, I'll be happy if that's all you take away from this. But we are going to get into some tips in a second, or not tips. We're going to get into some signs of when you know you need to take a step back and take a break. But right before we get to that, there will be some people in your life that won't understand this. But that's not important, right? It's not important. I did want to throw it in there so you're aware, but there will be some people in your life that just won't understand why you need a break from, they won't even understand why you need a break from the things that drive you crazy, because they'll be like, well, just suck it up and deal with it. Like, no, that's not a philosophy in life that we need to live by. Sometimes we have to do it because that's how adult life is, but I wouldn't say that should be like your ride or die phrase, suck it up and do it no matter what it is. But they're definitely not going to understand when you need to take a break from things that you love, that are so super close to you, so that bring you joy. And it's not important, because everyone has an opinion, and that's fine. And everyone's entitled to that opinion, and that's fine. But it doesn't mean you have to accept it or live your life by it, right? You don't have to. Even if they act like they're the most knowledgeable person in the world, it does not mean that you have to ride or die by what they say. Okay? You don't. You really don't. You can make your own choices. You get to make your own decisions in life. That's like part of being an adult, is you get to make your own decisions. And I think that we should all take that up as a wonderful opportunity. We should try, at least. I know sometimes I struggle with that, and there are other people in my life that I know that do as well, and that's okay, because no one's perfect. But I want you to understand that their opinions don't have to force you to do things you don't want to do, or endure pain and stress and overwhelm that you shouldn't have to, because you can take a break. It's okay. It should be accepted, it should be encouraged, and it should be admired. That's what I believe. So let me share with you some signs that you may need to step back and take a break from whatever's going on in your life. I have 7 signs that could appear in your life. And as I always say, this is not like a conclusive list of signs you will see in your life to kind of holla at you and be like, take a break. No, you can always go to Google, all of our best friends. Our best friend is Google, and just be like, hey, how to know when to take a break, or how to know when to take a step back. And you can get more if you don't feel like any of these resonate with you. But let's begin the list. So the first one is you react to situations instead of responding. So if you are not aware, there is a difference between reacting and responding. So a reaction to a situation would be something that you didn't plan to say. Usually a reaction is like what's going to happen in that moment, what is just going to come from your gut and your mind and just kind of like vomit out of you. I kind of think of it as like word vomit, sometimes physical vomit, but hopefully not. And it's just like your gut reaction, as opposed to responding, where you actually take a moment to think about what you're going to say and how you are going to contribute to the conversation, the situation, whatever it is. And so if you are starting to react to situations, like just letting whatever your gut impulses come out, as opposed to taking a beat, right? And thinking about it, like, what am I supposed to say? How should I respond to the situation? Then you might need to take a step back, because you're just letting your emotions lead as opposed to being more level-headed. So one to consider. Number two is you're annoyed by minor inconveniences. And yeah, this can definitely be just like petty stuff with other people, or just little annoying things that happen around your house, around your home, around your job, whatever it is. And once these things start to build up and you're just continuously annoyed by the most minor things, you're like, get mad when you go pick up your Starbies and your coffee's wrong, or they give you the wrong breakfast sandwich, or you're at work and someone accidentally calls you by the wrong name, or you don't get the information you need to do whatever task it is, or you're at home and your husband forgets to close all the cabinets behind him. My gosh, that's something that drives me crazy. And, or whatever it is, and you just have these minor things that continue to pile up, and you just get so upset every single time and kind of blow it out of proportion. Again, probably a reaction as opposed to a real response. Then you might need to take a step back. You might need to take a break. You might realize, wow, all these little things are bugging me because I have all these big things that I'm not dealing with, and I'm letting it all just like mount up and take me over. And you might need to take a break. The third one is you no longer prioritize caring for yourself. Now, I feel like we do this a lot outside of like knowing that we need to take a step back or take a break. I know that a lot of us struggle with prioritizing our self-care just in general in life and forever, but it is another sign, because if you are a regular, like, not regular, that's not the word I wanted to use. If you are have a habit of actually taking care of yourself, and you no longer, did you see how long it took me to get there? Oh yeah, I love leaving this kind of stuff in. If you are normally in the habit of actually taking care of yourself and you're no longer doing that, then that should be like a red flag to you of like, oh crap, I am no longer taking care of myself and I'm used to actually doing that. Man, I might need to take a step back and evaluate like what's happening in my life, what's taking over, what is overwhelming me, and what is getting in the way of me actually taking care of myself so I can take care of all this other crap in my life. So that's how that would apply. Number 4 is you start judging and comparing yourself to others too much. I am the first person to say that I think it's totally normal and acceptable for you to judge yourself and compare yourself to others a little bit, because no one cannot do that ever. Like, no one cannot not ever do that. You're always going to do that a little bit. You know, I've been through years of therapy, and I've, seen other strong women and people just like, be able to get through the worst parts of judging themselves and comparing yourselves, but we all are still going to do it a little bit, even if we don't admit to it, I promise you. But I think that if we let it get out of control and actually dictate our lives and how we feel about ourselves, how we act to things, how we live our lives, and look at ourselves every day, then we really do need to take a step back. We really do need to take a break from like social media or being around certain people or being involved in whatever, because that's not the way we should be living our lives. We should be living our lives by knowing how wonderful and amazing and beautiful we are, not based on like us, measuring ourselves against someone else, or accepting or creating our own judgments for ourselves based upon what someone else is doing, because we're all in total different seasons of life, and that's not fair to us or even to them, like, because they don't know you're doing it. And even if they do know you're doing it, it's still not fair to them because, you don't know how much work it took for them to get to wherever they are. And you don't really know exactly what you're comparing yourself to, right? You're comparing yourself to like a highlight of someone. And it could have been really hard for them to get themselves to that point too. So keep that in mind. Number 5 is changes are really shaking you up more than normal. Change is a beautiful thing. Change is like the opportunity for you to have new experiences, new learning lessons, blessings in your life, and to just mix things up. And I love change. I like it a lot. It can be really tough sometimes. And sometimes I feel like I hate it in the moment, but I slowly try to like really go with it because I know that there's always a good side and there's always learning opportunities. And learning opportunities are not always fun. I will admit that. I will admit that. But they're really helpful. But if you find that like even the smallest little changes are really shaking you up, are really making you feel like you are so upset, you're so sad, you're so confused, you don't know what to do, you feel really unsure, then you might need to take a step back and you might need to take a break. And, changes are still going to come whether you decide to take a break or not. So if you do take a break and you kind of like reassess yourself, reground yourself so you're able to deal with those a little better, then you're better for it, right? I totally agree. Number 6, you're like, of course you agree. You wrote these. Yeah, I know. Okay. Number 6, what used to make you happy now causes you pain. So if you have a habit or an activity or a hobby or whatever it is, it's something that you do and it brought you so much happiness and joy and fulfillment, and now it no longer does, you might need to take a step back, take a break, and reassess whether that is something you should continue to do or whether you should try to do it in a different way. An example for me would be years ago, I really got into baking. I feel like I've always been into baking. And it really ramped up when I was in college and then kind of took a little bit of a break. And then I got more into it when our kiddo was really young. And people were like, oh my gosh, you're so talented. You're so good at baking. I feel like baking is like one of my natural talents, to be honest, like to toot my own horn. And then some friends at church actually encouraged me to do it as a business. Because it became a hobby at first, and I would just like make things for people and go to events and bring them. And I love to decorate cupcakes. Cupcakes were like my specialty. And people were like, yeah, you should make it into a business. So I did. And I enjoyed it, but it started to burn me out a little bit because it was just a side business, right? I had a full-time job, but it kind of started to burn me out a bit, and I wasn't enjoying it as much as I used to enjoy it because I used to enjoy just doing it on the side when I wanted to. I could experiment here and there, use a little bit of extra money here and there to create things. But when it became like more business oriented and I had to actually price things out and I really wasn't good at doing that, it just became too much. And I really had to take a step back and be like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to really push this anymore. I don't think I'm going to offer this anymore. If someone asks me and I want to, I will do it. But I'm not going to make it a big thing. And I had to make that decision because it just wasn't fun anymore. It used to be so much fun, and then it wasn't. And so now when I do it, it is. And I did make a cake for someone a few weeks ago, and, I didn't charge them very much, and it was just fun to kind of like rediscover that magic, but that's what I mean by that. So if there's something that you're doing and you no longer enjoy it, you might need to reassess like whether or not that's something for you anymore. It might not be, or you might just need to not do it as much or the way you're doing it, and that's okay. Okay, so the last one is number 7. You're more tired and worn out than normal. So many of us are tired and worn out on the normal. I kind of am that just because of like a lot of health issues that I go through. However, I think that if that exacerbates more than it normally does, then so whatever you would see your quote unquote level would be, if it goes past that, then I would really reevaluate like whether you're doing too much, whether you're involved in too much, whether you feel like you need to take a break, or reevaluate like how much you're doing or what you really truly can tell yourself that you actually can do during this season of life, and see what changes you need to make. Because there's no shame in your game of taking a step back and telling yourself, hey, be like me, like, hey, Sabrina, you're doing too much. And I'll be like, no, I'm not. And I'll be like, yes, you are, girl. And if you don't take a step back, you are going to crash and burn. And sometimes I have just crashed and burned because I'm like, no, get away from me, step off. But as I've grown older and as I've like experienced more crashes and burns, I've realized that it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to like be a shining star in front of everyone else because I'm doing all of these things and, they're like, oh my gosh, you're doing all these things and you're amazing. That no longer makes me as happy as just being like, you know what? No, I'm just not going to do it. And I'm just going to take more time for me. And I'm actually just not going to do nothing. I'm going to do nothing and be okay with that. And it can take you some time, especially if you're a people pleaser. I am like an ultimate people pleaser. I'm working my way out of that. But if you do struggle with that, I understand. And I'm here for you. I totally am. Send me a DM on Instagram. I'm here for you. But you have to own that and you have to accept that. And you have to believe and know that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So I just encourage you to understand that if you are more worn out and tired than you normally are outside of like having a baby or doing some sort of crazy life change, like where you're moving or you're married or whatever, then you might, and even in those instances, actually, I take that back. Like even in those instances, you have a baby and then you're trying to still do everything you used to do. Like, no, you can't. Even if you adopted and you didn't necessarily like birth that child, like still, you're in a new season in life. You're taking on new responsibilities. Change is happening. Even if you've done it before, it still means that you might need to take a step back and take a break from some things because you already know that this is going to cause you some extra stress and tiredness, and that's okay because it's worth it, right? That thing is worth it to go through that and to endure it because it's so wonderful and meaningful. And not everything needs to still stay on board during that time. You can always bring it back later. There's no shame in that, right? So, okay, I think I've talked enough about this on how to know, when you need to take a break. And I hope this has been really helpful and valuable to you guys today. So don't forget that I'm here for you. I thank you so much for listening to the show and sharing the show and being a fan and listening and downloading and sharing. I really appreciate it. I encourage you to check the show notes for where to find me on Instagram, again, at Sabrina Joy Perozo. I'd love to hear from you. And also where you can find me at Clubhouse is down there, or send me a good old-fashioned email, realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.